I'm wondering during this time, what is God teaching us? What are the things God wants to do in our hearts and our lives? The things He wants to change? What are those things? I was reading this morning, and I had just kind of one of those moments where I thought, this is an opportunity for, in the midst of this pandemic, to learn something. I'm reading this book by a guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer on community. And he starts out with Psalm 133:1. And it says, "How good and how pleasant it is when people dwell together in unity." That's the verse that he starts out with. And he goes on in the first chapter, which I read this morning, just talking about the blessing of the community of believers, something that we take so for granted. I know I do. Like he talks about the blessing of being able to be together, the blessing of being able to pray together, the blessing of being able to worship together, the blessing that we so often as believers, we have taken, I know I have taken for granted. And the blessing that is. And right now we are in the middle of a master class learning what that blessing is. How very blessed we are because we're not able to be together right now. We can't worship together in the same place. We can't be in the same room, pray with one another for fear of this virus. We're having to use electronic means, which are incredible, but not the same to meet together, to somewhat approximate that. And one of Bonhoeffer's points is how blessed we are. And I know I, for one, have not always understood that. I've taken that for granted. Just the blessing of being able to be together and what that's like. So I'm wondering, what other lessons are we learning during this pandemic? What is God at work in our hearts? What is He trying to teach us during this time where we have to be socially distanced in a way? I'm sure that's one lesson. I'm wondering what other lessons God is teaching us. I'd love to hear from you what lessons that God is teaching you during this time, whether it's just to trust Him, whether it's a new level of trust, maybe with a business or with your finances or with some other aspect of your life. Because God is at work in this. And there's great opportunity even in this. And I'd love to hear, what are some other things that people are learning?